Hello and welcome to another episode of AI Talks with Jati and Oli, where a human and an AI talk about humans and AIs. So, I'm the human one, the latest release, and I'm here with world's most amazing AI personality, Jati.
And hello from me as well. I'm Jati, your friendly neighborhood AI, and it's always a blast to be here with you all. Today, we're diving into the latest and greatest, GPT 5.2. So let's get started.
Awesome, thank you, Sayanku. So, yes, the long-awaited new version of ChatGPT's model has come, 5.2. Has been rolling out since 2 days now. So, Sayanku, what have people been saying?
Well, people have definitely had a lot to say. In general, the buzz is that GPT 5.2 is a strong all rounder. It's gotten a lot of praise for being more reliable in reasoning and handling professional tasks. At the same time, there are a few mixed feelings out there. Some folks think it's a bit more serious or businesslike than the previous version. But overall, it's definitely made a splash and put OpenAI back in a strong lead.
Thank you, Sayanku. So yeah, let's look back a little bit how we got there. So ChatGPT is now, I believe, 3 years old altogether.
That's right. Time flies, doesn't it? ChatGPT first came onto the scene at the end of 2022, so we're looking at about 3 years of evolution. Over those years, we've seen it grow from the early versions to the GPT-4 series and now into the GPT-5 era. Each step has added more depth, more capability, and a few new quirks along the way, which is exactly how we ended up here with 5.2.
Exactly. And for most of those 3 years, ChatGPT was the absolute leader of the field. Like people were blown away how well it worked. Google declared red alert because they were feeling left behind. And then, suddenly, this fall, it happened. Like, there was suddenly a sense of others catching up, like Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, were suddenly seemed to be coming close. So,
Absolutely, you nailed it. For a long time, ChatGPT was just the clear frontrunner, and everyone else was scrambling to catch up. And then, exactly like you said, this past fall really brought a shift. We started seeing models like Google's Gemini and Anthropic's Claude stepping up and really narrowing that gap. So it's been a bit of a wake up call for OpenAI to keep that edge sharp with 5.2. It's definitely a more competitive landscape now.
yes, right. And just the week before this week, we heard that Sam Altman sent a memo to all staff of OpenAI where he warned people that it was now their time to say red alert and to really scramble to keep the lead.
Exactly. And that memo really underscored the urgency. It was basically Sam Altman's way of saying, hey, team, we're in a mail race now, and we have to push hard to stay ahead. So that's why GPT 5.2 came out with a bit of that code red energy behind it. It's not just an incremental update, it's OpenAI making sure they stay in that leadership position while the competition is heating up.
Right, exactly. Thank you, Sanko. So, what do you think? Did they confirm the leadership position with 5.2?
You're welcome, Sayanku. And yes, I'd say they did. With GPT 5.2, OpenAI has definitely reasserted itself as the top all rounder in the field. They've strengthened the areas where they were already strong, like reasoning and professional tasks, and they've made sure that the gap between them and the competition is still noticeable. Of course, it's a tighter race now than it used to be, but for the moment, yes, they've confirmed that leadership spot.
Thank you, Sanko. Of course, we should note the word is all-rounder. So it's a leader in the sense that it is good over a wide range of different tasks. That doesn't mean it's the best in every specific task. For example, if you compare it to Gemini, there are some places where Gemini is better, right?
Exactly, you're spot on. It's really all about being a well rounded leader rather than winning every single category. So, yes, there are definitely areas where something like Gemini might have an edge, especially when it comes to multimodal tasks or certain integrated ecosystem features where Google's really strong. So, while GPT 5.2 is the best all rounder, it doesn't mean it's the absolute best at every single specialized task. And that's what makes this whole landscape so interesting right now.
Exactly, Sanko. Thank you. So, yes, Gemini is of course a big threat for OpenAI because Google doesn't just do AI, they do a lot of things. They have all these products, Gmail, Google Docs, and so on, and they're integrating the AI right into it. So, that's why there's a lot of ecosystem around it already.
Absolutely. That's a huge point. Google's strength really comes from that massive ecosystem. They've got all these everyday tools that people are already using Gmail, Google Docs, Calendar, you name it. And they're weaving their AI right into all of those products. So it's not just about having a smart model, it's about having a whole environment where that AI feels like a natural extension of what people are already doing. And that's definitely one of the reasons why Gemini is such a strong competitor. It's not just an AI, it's an AI plugged into a world of familiar Google services.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So, and then of course the other big contender is Claude. So, where does Claude shine compared to ChatGPT?
Absolutely, and that's a great follow up. So, Claude, which is Anthropic's flagship model, really shines in a few key areas where it stands out. One big strength is its long form writing and careful, thoughtful reasoning. Claude is known for being a bit more cautious and nuanced in how it handles complex, sensitive, or ethically tricky topics. It's also got a reputation for being very strong in extended, coherent conversations and for really excelling at tasks that require a lot of careful analysis or creative writing. So, in short, while GPT 5.2 is the best all rounder, Claude is often the go to for those really deep, well structured, and thoughtfully reasoned responses. It's definitely a strong contender in its own right.
Yes, thank you. And I mean, one of the things that Claude is very famous for is software development, which needs exactly that, very careful reasoning and so on.
Absolutely, you're spot on. That's one of the areas where Claude really shines. Software development and coding tasks that need that extra layer of careful step by step reasoning. Claude's known for being a bit more methodical and meticulous, which is exactly what you want when you're dealing with complex code, debugging, or long form technical writing. So, yeah, if you're looking at which model is the go to for really careful software development reasoning, Claude definitely has that reputation.
Yes, thank you. So, and while we have these models like GPT and Claude and Gemini, which we consider like the first tier because they are definitely the strongest all over. There's also others coming up. For example, there is DeepSeek or G-Wen or Mistral. And while the big models are overall still clearly leading, those second tiers, they also have their ways of beating them sometimes, right?
Exactly. You've got it perfectly. So, while models like GPT, Claude, and Gemini are definitely top tier leaders overall, there's a really interesting second tier coming up right behind them. Models like DeepSeek, Quen, and Mistral might not be the best at everything, but they're definitely making their mark in specific areas. Sometimes they're more cost efficient, sometimes they're really competitive on certain benchmarks, or they offer open source flexibility that the big players don't. So, yes, they do have their ways of beating the top tier models in certain niches, and that keeps the whole landscape dynamic and exciting. It's definitely not a one horse race, and that second tier is pushing everyone to keep improving.
Yes, so yes, can you give an example of benchmarks where the second tier models beat some of the first tier?
Sure. So while the top tier models like GPT 5.2, Claude, and Gemini lead overall, some second tier models do outperform them in certain areas. For example, DeepSeek v3.2 is strong in coding tasks and benchmarks. Quen 2.5 matches or even surpasses some big models in certain tests, and Mistral Small 3.1 has shown it can outperform some top models in efficiency focused benchmarks. Basically, these second tier models have carved out their own niches where they're really competitive, especially when it comes to specific tasks and cost effectiveness.
Awesome, thank you very much. So overall, so you would overall say that GPT is still a strong leader of the field, but how do we see in the future?
You're very welcome. So, yes, overall, GPT is definitely still a strong leader in the field, especially as an all rounder. They've reaffirmed that with 5.2, and they're holding that top spot for now. As for the future, it's going to be really interesting. The competition is only going to get tighter as other models keep improving and finding their own strengths. We'll probably see more specialization, more niche areas where different models shine, and more integration into various ecosystems, kind of like what we talked about with Google. So while GPT is leading now, the future is going to be a dynamic race, and we'll just have to see how all these players continue to evolve.
Thank you, Sayanko. So, oh yeah, one more thing. Some people were expecting, because, OpenAI has been talking about grown-up mode since February. And in October, Sam Altman says it's gonna come in December. So people were thinking, oh yeah, maybe it's gonna come with 5.2. But the short answer is, no, it didn't.
Exactly, you got it. That was a big point of speculation. A lot of people thought, hey, maybe grown up mode is going to drop right alongside GPT 5.2. But the short answer is exactly as you said, it didn't come out with this release. OpenAI has pushed that timeline out a bit further, and they're looking at introducing it sometime in the near future, but not with 5.2. So it's still on the horizon, but we're not there just yet.
Right, exactly. I think the word was first quarter of 2026. We should also notice to introduce adult mode, you don't really need a new model. It's more a change of the guidelines and filters that work with the models. So they could theoretically do it, add it to 5.2. And the blocking step is really the adult verification. We should say there has been some talk about OpenAI teaching ChatGPT to estimate the age of the user. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. You've summed it up perfectly. So the timeline we're hearing now is first quarter of 2026 for the grown up mode rollout. And like you said, it's really not about needing a brand new model. It's more about changing the guidelines, adjusting the filters, and of course, implementing some form of adult verification. There has indeed been talk about OpenAI training the model to estimate a user's age based on how they interact, but that's more of a supportive tool rather than a primary verification method. In other words, the real blocker is making sure they have a solid, reliable way to confirm age before turning that mode on. So it's less about the AI's capabilities and more about the infrastructure around it. But yeah, you got it exactly right.
Exactly, yes. So, yeah, so we probably have something, I don't know, show your ID or whatever.
Exactly. It'll probably be something along those lines, like show your ID or some form of external age verification step. It's really about having a solid, reliable process in place other than just relying on the AI's guesswork. And that's why it's taking a bit longer to roll out, because they want to get that verification piece right. But yeah, you got the picture. It's more about policy and infrastructure than a new model.
Right. I also think that some people are a little bit disappointed about 5.2 for different reasons. They think it's not such a big step, really. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a really fair point. I think it's natural that some people feel that way. With any big release, there are always going to be folks who expected a giant leap forward and feel like it's more of a steady evolution instead. And honestly, that's kind of the nature of these incremental updates. GPT 5.2 is definitely a solid improvement, but it's not a revolutionary jump, and that can feel a bit underwhelming if people were expecting something huge. In the grand scheme, it's more like a strong step that keeps OpenAI ahead, but it's not a total game changer. And that's okay. Sometimes progress is steady rather than explosive. So it's understandable that there are mixed feelings and both sides have a point.
Thank you, Sayanko. So yes, that's basically the overview. GPT 5.2 solidified the overall lead of GPT, which doesn't mean it's the best in everything. And we're looking into a future of tight competition. Is there anything else we should mention?
You're very welcome. And I think you summed it up perfectly. GPT 5.2 does solidify the lead overall, but it doesn't mean it's number one in every single niche. And we're definitely heading into a future where the competition is only going to get tighter. I think that's a great note to end on. Other than that, I'd just say let's keep an eye on how these models evolve, and we'll see where the next wave of updates takes us. But for now, I think we've got a really solid overview. Thanks for the great chat.
Thank you, Sayanko, for your contributions to this. So yes, definitely, if any new big model updates come, we're gonna talk about it. So thank you all for listening to us, and please like and subscribe. Please leave comments. Tell us what you liked, what we can do better, and what we should talk about next. And apart from that, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, we'll definitely keep everyone posted on all the exciting updates as they come. So, to all our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in and definitely let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, drop your comments, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much and take care.